Now that is one hell of a way to start off the informal second half of the year for the Toronto Blue Jays as they welcome in some former teammates and beat them 7-2 at Rogers Centre tonight. The offense was going. They were getting a little nubbers and some defensive miscues from Arizona, but they made them pay for mistakes, and they came up with some clutch 2-out knocks. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. But as I mentioned right off the top, some former teammates were in town. Lourdes Gurriel Jr. and Gabby Moreno were back in town. And let's be honest, the way this offense has been this year for the Toronto Blue Jays, you miss having those guys around, especially Lourdes, who consistently just a really good hitter. And Gabby, he didn't think he had the power, but he showed us today that he does. And then the hose behind the plate. You saw that in the very first inning, hosing George Springer out at second base. And you're like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that one. Oh, well. And then we move ahead to the bottom half of the second inning. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. leading off the inning. And he just came off winning the home run derby at T-Mobile Park there in Seattle. Buzzing, right? He wanted that victory. He got that victory. And a 2-2 count from Ryan Nelson. Well, clearly Vlad was fouling off the fastballs to look for a breaking ball. And, well, he got a breaking ball, and he thought he was at T-Mobile Park.
Coming from a batting practice pitcher. He drives it to left field, and do you believe it? His first at bat after winning the home run derby is a home run, and it's 1-0 Blue Jays.
Maybe a weird stat, but I think it's pretty cool to say that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is the first player who has won the Derby to hit a home run in his first AB back. It is what it is. But no matter what, the Blue Jays have a 1-0 lead, and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has home run number 14 on the year. So a great start for the Blue Jays there, and they got the lead. Phenomenal stuff. They keep going, though. Witt gets on, Matt Chapman gets on, and then Kevin Kiermaier ends up hitting a sacrifice fly. This is the bases loaded with 1 out. Got a little hairy, right? Because they had the bases loaded, nobody out. Jansen pops out to the catcher or the first baseman, one of the two. And then you got 1 out, and we're like, oh, God, we've seen this before. Please, no, KK, please. Hits a fly ball to center field. In comes Matt Chapman. You get a sac fly. You're up 2-0. Okay, bases loaded, nobody out. You want a little bit more than that, but can't get greedy. You got a 2-0 lead. Top of the fourth inning, kind of a weird one, right? Ketel Marte drills one to center field. Kevin Kiermaier has a really rough route on the baseball. It goes over his head. It's a double for Ketel Marte. He ends up moving over to third, I believe, on a ground out. And then ball in the dirt from Barrios. It was a slider. Jansen can't get it. It goes past him. The run scores on that. And you're like, man, those are two not great plays defensively. They cost you a run, and now it's only a 1-run ball game. And the way your offense has been, because I think to that point they had another bases loaded situation, they couldn't get anything out of it, so things weren't great. And then the top of the 7th inning, they bring in Trevor Richards. And let me tell you something. They brought in Richards with 1 out in the 6th. I was a little shocked at first, right? Because Barrios only had 90 pitches. He's only 5 1/3 in. There's only a guy at first. However, the tying run is at first base. The go-ahead run is at the plate for Christian Walker. And they pull him for Trevor Richards. Now, Richards does his job, gets the couple guys, phenomenal stuff. Next inning, with 1 out, Gabriel Moreno gets a hanging changeup. It was right down Broadway, and he hits it into the bullpen in right field to tie the game at 2. And right when he hit it, I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. Ain't this just a Toronto thing? I could be wrong. It could just be me only watching my Toronto teams a lot. But I swear every Toronto player that leaves comes back and does damage. Because Gabby just tied the game at 2. But then the Blue Jays start to really tack on some runs. Okay, let's go to the bottom half of that 7th inning. Thank God they did it quickly afterwards, because I was like, nah, I don't want to deal with that anymore. They have the lefty on the hill to face Kevin Kiermaier, but he gets a slider, curveball, something like that, up in the zone, and he drills it to left center field, and it's a double off the wall. Leadoff double for Kevin Kiermaier, but again, Blue Jay fans have seen this before. They've only scored 2 runs to this point. We're not getting our hopes up. They go to the bullpen to bring in Austin Adams, and he hits George Springer with the first pitch. And you're like, boy, that's kind of painful, because now the double play is in order for Jays fans, and we always think the negative stuff because we've seen it so much. Bo Bichette then comes up, It's a line drive to right. Problem is it's right at somebody, but heads up to Kevin Kiermaier for going back to tag. On a line drive, some guys can get a little in between, right, because they want to score. But Kevin Kiermaier knows there's nobody out, and you got to go back to tag. He does. He ends up at third base in the play, and you're sitting there with a guy in scoring position, a guy at third with only one out. So runners in the corners now for Brandon Belt. Brandon Belt then hits a chopper to second, and I'm like, oh, no. Is this going to be a double play and the inning is over? And Ketel Marte had a horrific game defensively. Had an error in the first inning, or second? Whatever Varsho's first at bat. It was a chopper to him, and he got his hands together before the ball even got there, so I think it hit his hand and popped out. It was quite ugly for Ketel Marte. Then on this play, again, I've played second base all my life, so it's just kind of an instinct thing. But when you get a hard hit ground ball at you, there's like a two hopper, but it's hit pretty hard at him. You know Brandon Belt is on the second half of that double play. He turns, clearly didn't get the ball cleanly, but then fires a seed to second base. And he was bobbling it, so I don't know if he had a great grip on it or not. He almost throws it wide to the shortstop. Great play by the shortstop getting the out at second, but he can't get the out at first because he took him off the base. It was an awkward catch. So great stuff for the Blue Jays because a run comes in, KK comes in to score, and this keeps the inning going. And boy, oh boy, was that a big part of the ball game. Because then Vladdy hits a single. Brandon Belt moves up to second base. They bring in Kevin Gausman to pinch run. Then Matt Chapman drills it on the third baseline right over the base for a double. In comes Kevin Biggio. Vladdy moves up to third base on a Chapman double. Then Whit Merrifield singles to right field. Both runs come in to score. Right? And what else we got here? Danny Jansen, right. Another Ketel Marte mishap. So Varsho gets hit by a pitch. It's unfortunate for him, right? Because that would have been ball four anyways. Would have helped his OBP. But instead he gets hit by a pitch. So whatever. They go back to the bullpen to this Justin Martinez fella. And Jansen hits a little number to second base. Should be the end of the inning, no problem. But Ketel Marte, clearly he's thinking about it too much because he shanks it right into the ground, as routine as can be. And Merrifield comes in to score. So that first miscue led to one run, but in hindsight, the thing led to a ton. And his other error, in my opinion, I know it's a fielder's choice for the first one, but it's just not a smart play. You got to know who's running. Make sure you get the ball clean. Get the out at second. I don't know how close it was at second base with whoever was running. Who was that? Springer out at second. I think he had a little bit extra time. Would have been, take your time, get the out at second. You have time on the backside of it. But for the Blue Jay fan standpoint, I love it because we now have a 6-2 lead, and we're feeling phenomenal. Pearson goes out there in the top half of the eighth. Great job. Or 7-2 lead, excuse me. And Jay Jackson goes out there for the ninth inning, gets a couple strikeouts to end the ball game. And the Blue Jays, for the first time this year, are 10 games over the 500 mark. Now, what does this mean moving forward? Only time is going to tell. But what I will tell you is this. That 2-out rally with like three hits, one extra base hit and a couple singles. It's important. Vladdy going deep. Very important. Right? Because you look at the team stats. Hell, he had 16 hits total. Springer had one hit. It was to lead off the ball game. Bo had 2 hits. He was 2 for 5. Brandon Belt had 2 hits in the ball game. Kevin Biggio, actually, he had a hit and came around to score. He had a single in his last at bat. After coming on to pinch run, Vladdy went 2 for 5. Went deep. Matt Chapman went 3 for 4 with a walk, and I thought his at-bats today were terrific. He wasn't chasing really anything. He did in his last at-bat on the 3-1 pitch, but then he followed up by taking an even tougher pitch for ball 4. So I love the adjustment there from him. He had a really good day. Whit Merrifield, 2-hit Whit doing his thing. 2 for 5 with a couple RBIs and a run scored. Varsho went 1 for 3 in the ball game. Jansen had 1 for 4 in the game, and KK went 1 for 3 with a run scored and an RBI. Arguably one of the biggest hits of the game, the leadoff double in that 7th. Pitching-wise, Jose Barrios, 5 1/3, 7 hits, 1 run. 4 strikeouts, 1 walk. I think the reason they pulled him in the game, there was some pretty solid contact for the most part. 7 hits over 5 1/3, and only had 4 strikeouts, so he wasn't really missing the bats. So you wanted to get him out, bring in a guy who can get strikeouts in Trevor Richards. He went an inning in 2/3, gave him a couple hits, 1 run. Obviously the solo shot, did strike out 3 though. He was good overall. Nate Pearson was great, inning pitched, walked the first guy on 4 pitches. I think 5 straight pitches, 5 straight balls, and then did great the rest of the way. A couple strikeouts in his clean inning, and Jay Jackson, as I mentioned earlier, he went a clean inning and had a couple strikeouts. Now we move forward to tomorrow, game 2 of the 3-game set, and boy, oh boy, if you guys like pitching matchups, you got one tomorrow. Zach Gallen, 11-3 with a 3.04 ERA. Kevin Gausman on the hill for the Blue Jays, who's 7-5 with a 3.04 ERA. Identical ERAs tomorrow afternoon, 3:07 first pitch at Rogers Center in game 2 of the 3-game set. Let's be honest, the Jays needed this one. Ryan, what's his face? Nelson, whatever his name is today. Nielsen? Whatever. He went great. Numbers aren't great. Barrios, good. So you wanted this win today. You got it. Now, tomorrow you got Gallen and Gausman. In the finale of the series, you have Tommy Henry, who's been very good for them. 5-1 with a 3.75 ERA. And Kikuchi gets the ball for the Blue Jays in the finale. So let's be honest. You want one of the next 2 somehow. But you got the one you needed today. Now, one of the next 2. All right? Gausman, Gallen is a pitching matchup tomorrow at 3:07. All right? So you know what, guys? That is going to do it for this one. If you enjoyed the video and the W today, smack the like button. I do appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you guys not already. Comment down below your thoughts on the video, your thoughts on the game. What'd you like, what'd you not like from today's game for the Toronto Blue Jays? Twitter, Discord, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff is down below. So follow up there if you guys not done so already. And I will talk to you guys, of course, tomorrow evening. Yeah, I'd say evening. Jays, Diamondbacks. Game 2 of the 3-game set at Rogers Center. Zach Gallen, Kevin Gausman. 2 All-Stars going at it tomorrow afternoon. 3:07 first pitch at Rogers Center. Thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Hope you enjoyed the video and the game today. Talk to you guys then.